All right, guys, what is going on? We are rolling right along in the series. So proud of you for continuing with me. But today I'm excited. This part fascinates me, okay? It's all fascinating, but this part in particular, it fascinates me, right? Because we're really diving into the shopping mindset, okay? And we're talking about book descriptions, and if you sell online, book blurbs. Fascinating stuff. I love it. All right. What you're going to get out of this video today is also exciting to me because I get to give you something a little bit more tangible than what I've been able to give in the past. All right. So you're going to get a 5-element format to hang your book descriptions on. All right. It's just a roadmap for you to hang your book descriptions on so that you can start saying the right thing to the right people in the right way. And the reason I want you to do this is because your book descriptions, your book blurbs are the last stage, right? It's the last line of defense you have against losing the sale. If you do not get this part right, there is no other opportunity for you. I promise you, you have killed the potential for the sale. And I'll explain that a little bit, but I really want to get into the tactics of this thing, okay? So remember, your book marketing is a gated process, right? You have to fulfill some requirements before you can move on to the next stage of your marketing strategy. All right. So in gate 0, we reframe your mindset. We get you understanding that you're not selling a book. You got to stop. All right. And I'm going to beat you over the head with this thing. You are not selling the book. That is the foundation for all of this. They can't care about a story that they haven't read. There is no amount of text, no way to fit text together that's going to make somebody care about characters and plots and settings and tech, etc., that they have not read about and built a relationship with over time and investment of feelings, right? And that being said, that's exactly what you're going to sell, feelings. In particular, you're going to sell the emotional experience that a shopper, a reader has had in the past with other novels, okay? You're not recreating the plot and settings and characters because they're just going to blast you for being a copycat, right? You copied so-and-so. I don't like this guy, and nobody else read them either because they're a copycat, right? That's not what you want to do, but you do want to recreate the feelings that they felt while they were reading those stories because those feelings are what got them hooked on the author and the books and characters in the first place. I'm going to use the broom analogy again, okay? You might think a broom is a necessity. Everyone does. But the reality is, if you didn't care about the appearance of your home, why would you need one? If you didn't care about the health of yourself or your pet or your family, why would you need one? What's the point? You wouldn't care, and caring is an emotion. That's what drives purchasing decisions, emotions, and then we use logic like health and appearance to back up our decisions after the fact. But you have to make them feel something first, and you need to make them feel the right thing. So we're going to use what's already come to build that feeling out. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. After that, we moved into gate number 1. Okay. That was gate 0. Gate number 1 is book covers. And really and truly, the purpose of the book cover was just for attraction. Okay. You're trying to be noticed, and you're trying to be noticed in the right way by the right people. And that was the purpose of your book cover. Okay. It wasn't to please you. It was to speak a certain language to a shopper. That feeling language, that emotional experience language. And when you get that right, they're going to pick it up and they're going to turn that book over because your bait was banging. And now they want to know what it tastes like. That's where we are right now. This is gate number 2. All right. And gate number 2 has a very specific purpose. These book descriptions and book blurbs have a very specific purpose that is not to sell your book. Again, I am going to beat you across the head with that thought process until you understand it and adopt it. It's not to sell your book. You are in the buying process now, so you have to walk baby steps these shoppers through that process because they're going through it whether or not you are along the ride or not. They're still going to go through it. So unless you're part of that narrative, you can't control it. Okay? So what is gate number 2 about? book descriptions and book blurbs, what are they really for? They're about building trust. That's the purpose of this gate. That's the purpose of your descriptions. They are to build trust. Why? Because if you're trying to sell a book at this stage, what you're doing is you're running up to somebody on the street and you're waving your book around and you're screaming, buy this, buy this, buy this, give me money because this thing is awesome. The story is incredible. I'm telling you, I promise, it's awesome. Buy it. Why? One, they're going to ask you, are you crazy? Get out of my face. And two, they're going to wonder, who are you? See, your marketing is just delivery for your brand message. It's delivery for a conversation that you're having because you're not there, right? And so if you're not saying the right thing to the right people in the right way, it doesn't work. And one of the things you have to realize is you have to provide value in this conversation because at the end of the day, you're asking for their time and their money. And they need to know what they're getting in return. And if you tell them about a plot and a main character in a genre that they don't care about because they haven't built a relationship with those things, then what kind of value are you actually giving to them? Really stop and think about that for a second. You're asking for their hard-earned time and their hard-earned money, one of which you cannot refund. And in exchange, you're telling them that your value is a plot that they haven't read yet and a main character that they know nothing about. And you wonder why books just sit on shelves or don't get sold. Guys, this is very, very, very critical, okay? And so that's why I have this 5-element format that I want you to use. I want you to start using it, okay? Because there is portions of the conversation that are not being said. And I want you to say them so that you can start elevating to the top of this rat race that we call authorship. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. All right. What you already know, what every author and writer already knows when they publish their book is that you need to introduce your main character. Duh, right? And you also, in your book description, you want to let them know what genre they're in, okay? Again, they should already know they're in the section or they're online in the category, but your book cover should already tell them too, in visual language, it should tell them what genre they're in. But here you're going to reinforce that, okay? You're just letting them know, yeah, you are in the right place. You're in the right genre, subgenre, sub-subgenre, whatever, okay? You are in the right place, shopper. Cool. And then you're going to let them know about the plot and the conflict, and you're not going to give away secrets. Duh, we all know that. Don't give away secrets. Tease them. and yeah, that's your book description. 99% of you, I don't even know if that's a real metric, 99%, but I know most authors don't sell anything. So let's just go with 99%. I'm good with that. Yeah, 99% of you are good. You're going to do exactly what I just said. And all of that is absolutely necessary. Now, let me give you the truth. That information falls into element 1 of the 5-element format. What that means is that there are 4 other elements, okay, that you need. That was element number 1. And all of that information, its purpose is to give the shopper permission to themselves to continue reading your book description. Let me say that again. That information, main character, genre, plot, conflict, that is permission. If you get it right, that's permission from the shopper to themselves to continue reading your book description. The problem is that's where all of you stop. That is your book description. So you've given them permission to continue reading, but you haven't given them any other information that they're actually looking for. And by the way, they have no idea what information they're looking for. They can't articulate it. They just know that it's not there, right? So everything sounds great. Main character, I like that guy, maybe. Genre, yeah, I'm in the right spot. Conflict, plot, ooh, that plot sounds good, tasty. All right, now what? And so even though it sounds great, it sounds palatable, they got to put the book down because they have no other information to go off of to make a buying decision. That's the problem. That's what's holding you guys up. Man, I love I'm telling you, like, I love digging into the thought process of people. And this is the fascinating part to me. This is what's missing. Okay. So, what are the other elements that you need to put into your book description? Well, let's go into that. All right. So, let's move on from element number one. By the way, element number one, they're asking, what is this? Okay, that's what all that information we just went over, that's what that is. The shopper is asking, what is this thing that I'm holding in my hand or that I just clicked on Amazon? What is it? And you just gave that to them. And now they have permission to move forward. So move forward into what? Well, move forward into element number two. How do you, the author, your story, make life better for them? Whoa, that's a hard question if you don't know what their life is like. But that goes right back to what I said before. Remember what I said, reframing the way you think about book marketing and what you sell? You're selling the recreation of an experience that they've already had. And you got to understand what that experience was, that emotional experience. What was it? And then you got to let them know that's how you make their life better. Everything you feed to these shoppers in terms of your book covers, in terms of your book descriptions, needs to weave around element number two, because that is the value that they're looking for in your brand conversation. That's the value that they're looking for. You need to let them know how you make life better. You need to know how you can recreate that experience so that that feeling of loss that we all feel, right? When we finish a really good book and then it's over and then you come back to reality and you don't have it. Something is missing. You're going to refill that area. And so that's what the value you bring is. You're going to refill that hole that we had when we stopped that last novel, when we lost those feelings that we came to just love, right? We came home ready to read that book. We might have been thinking about that book even as we were kissing our spouse. And even though we were out and at the gym, we were ready to get in bed and read it. We were at work just waiting for the clock to hit lunchtime so we could open that book and continue along with the journey of these characters that we fell in love with. Those are the value points that you need to start hitting if you're going to sell this thing, this book, because it's not a book, it's a product. $9.99 or $24.99, doesn't matter. It's a product, and it's getting compared to other products and other commodities that the shopper has in real life, like McDonald's, okay? Because $9.99 can also give them a meal that they don't have to clean up after or cook or worry about, and it's going to taste great. Okay, those are the things that you're really balancing up against, and you need to understand that. So this is the conversation that you're going to have. All right, so that's element number two. Element number three. How do they get it? All right, remember, it is not a book. It is the experience. And you cannot at this point tell them to go to the cash register and buy it. Why? Because you'd be a jerk. One, it's not like you're online with a buy now button. No. But two, they're in your world. At this point in time, you're controlling the conversation. You're controlling the narrative. Okay, they're making decisions to continue with it, but you are controlling the narrative, and you do not want to push them out of that yet. Why? Because relationships take time. You don't have a lot of it to waste, so you need to maximize as much time investment on their part as you can. Okay, telling them to go to the cash register bumps them up out of your universe and into the real world again. And you're doing that too fast. Okay. If this was fishing and you baited them and your bait worked and now you're setting the hook, well, at this point, to tell them to go to the cash register would be like trying to yank that hook too early before they've closed their mouth on it. The fish is just going to get away. They're going to wiggle off and go. Okay. Too early. So instead, what you want to do is tell them how to get it by telling them the truth. You get it by reading the book. The journey starts on page 1. Why do you want to do that? Because most readers, right, most shopping readers will, if they like a book, turn to the first page or turn to a middle page. It doesn't matter. They will just turn to a page and see how well you write. but most of us will go to the first page. So if you tell them, go to the first page, right, in some form or fashion, go to the first page and take a look. I'm assuming that you've done your editing work and you've got a killer first line, right? You've got a killer first paragraph. You've got a killer first half of a page. You're going to get them to invest time into your story. Now, keep this in mind, guys. I want you to understand this. I love this, all right? If they go to the first page, it's because they decided to go. If they read the first sentence and then they read the first paragraph and then they read maybe the first page, what they're actually doing is investing time into your story, that thing that you've been trying to sell since the get-go, that I've been trying to bust you over the head saying, stop selling it. You don't sell the book will sell itself. This is the point where it's going to sell itself. You have to stand on your work, stand on your writing, trust in the process, trust what you've done. You spent years, some of you, writing this thing. Trust that work to do what it needs to do. Okay, this is the point where the reader goes there and they consume your story, the first tidbit of your story. And if you've done it right, guess what? They've invested time into it, their own time. And so now what they're actually doing from this point forward is selling the book to themselves. Does that make sense? They are now convincing themselves to read the story. See, you've given them value points to move them to this point. And the value is, I'm going to have a really good experience with this novel, just like I did in the past. Think about it. If you had a conversation with your homeboy and you were like, man, you remember that crazy night we had over at the baseball field, man? And that game was awesome. And everyone was hyped. And it was just, it was so much fun. And he's like, yeah, I remember that, bro. I had like 3 beers, bro. Yeah, me too, man. They're having another one Saturday. We need to go. You're not selling them on this next Saturday. You're not saying, hey, look, they're playing against and they're going to be seats available and they're going to have lots of people there and they're going to blah, blah, blah. You're not even selling them on this Saturday. You sold them on the experience they already had in the past. And now you're just saying, yeah, we need to go this Saturday because it's going to be the same experience. We're going to feel it just like we did then. Do you see the difference in the conversation? That's what they're doing now. They're convincing themselves to go ahead because they've invested time. There is a relationship between you now and them. And now there is trust because you're delivering on what you told them. God, man, come on now, y'all. This is good stuff. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna move forward, all right? Element 4, I almost lost myself. I got so excited. Element number 4 is what happens if they don't buy the book. All right. So you've kind of answered this in element number 2 when you say, how do you make life for the better? But you're going to flip it, right? You got to poke those pain points, poke them in the pain points, right? They came to buy a book, but really they came for the experiences that they had in the past, right? So that's what they're there for. And they don't want to leave. Right? They drove to the bookstore. They got online. They've done search through like 1,000. Maybe not really. They're on page 11, right, of Amazon. They've invested time in this search. They don't want to leave empty-handed, right? So you're going to poke the pain points. This is what happens if you leave empty-handed. What you experienced in the past is not going to happen now. You're going to reverse what you said. Okay? That's element number 4. You're going to poke them in the pain points to let them know, hey, look, bad stuff is going to happen to you. Okay? And you don't want that. And then from there, you're going to move into element 5, the last element, which is once again to give them the benefits of what will happen. It is not about the benefit of a cool story and plot. It's the benefit about how they are going to feel and the experience that they're going to have and how it matches up with experiences they've had in the past. Guys, you must know your audience. Okay? And you must know the core truth of your story. Your story. All these elements are going to weave together to create a book summary that is irresistible. Okay? And they're going to take that and they're going to move to the cash register. Okay? If you don't do these things, Like I said, you can lose them early on in this process, early on in the book description, right? They're going to wiggle off. They weren't ready for it. But here's the thing. If you don't build this type of trust, and they might continue moving towards the cash register without this built-in trust, what happens is they are now out of your universe. And again, real life starts to set in. Do I really want to buy this? Because I really don't feel like cooking today. I'm tired, right? Do I really want to get this? Because I don't know. I kind of wanted to get those shoes and it'd be an extra $10 that I could put to it. Do I really need, right? You have to have enough value and enough trust behind that value that when they start bouncing up against real world stuff, other products, you stand strong. That's what this is all about. Okay, cool. Now, all of that sounds like, all of that sounds kind of tough to do. And it really is. It does take work. But again, you have a framework now to hang it on. And if you need, let's go ahead and walk through a really quick example. I'm not going to explain everything. We already explained it, but I want you to hear what it sounds like, okay? So you can start applying this to your own book yourself. All right, here we go. All right, guys. So like I said, we're going to walk through a really quick example. All right. Now, I wrote this up. It is not super polished, but I just wanted you to see or hear what it sounds like when you use this framework as the staging point for your book descriptions. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through it really fast. Remember, I'm a sci-fi guy, so you're going to have to change this up if you're outside that genre, but you can still see if you can spot the elements as I walk through this example. Okay. So listen up. I'm just going to read it and then we'll talk about it, okay? Here we go. Peter Quilla is a roguish man-child of a space pirate, completely self-centered and desperate to gain infamy in a vast universe filled with abstract aliens, insanely advanced technologies, and the best eyebrows this side of the Milky Way. Until he discovers a strange, ancient artifact, one with the power to bring peace to the galaxy or destroy it. Joined by a ragtag group of misfits, Peter will journey to the very edges of reality and discover along the way that whether he wants it to or not, fate is unavoidable. Fair warning, dear reader. Find your comfy spot before beginning this book. Expect not to sleep because you might laugh aloud or even cry. But you will be inspired as the most unlikely of heroes reminds us that when destiny calls, being ready isn't important. Saying yes is. Don't waste time on another simple story that leaves you empty. Experience the hilarity, triumph, and family bonds formed by events of epic, galaxy-shattering proportions. Your journey begins on page 1. Destiny is calling. Are you brave enough to answer? And that's it. Okay. Now, you're going to find a lot of places, a lot of tutorial places that are going to say, make sure your book summary is between 175 words or 250 words. Okay. And that really is true. That's the sweet spot. But again, I wanted to walk through all of this so you understand what to put in that 175 to 250 words. And by the way, that was 178 words. So all that packed into 178 words. But did you spot the elements, right? The very beginning, Peter Aquila is a roguish man. And if you haven't realized, guys, I love me some Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's what this is based off of. But anyway, Peter Quilla is a roguish man-child and yada, yada, yada. And, whether he wants it to or not, fate is unavoidable. Okay, so what I did was I walked through what most of you are going to do. The main character, the genre, the conflict that's taking place, right? I gave those hit points, which is where most of us stop at. But again, remember, how do you change life for the better? Well, that was what the second paragraph was about, right? I'm talking about the experiences they've had in the past. You're going to have it again. Find your comfy spot because that was an experience that they had. They felt something while they were being maybe in their bed or right at work, and they're on their lunch break. Again, we already talked about that, right? Expect not to sleep. That's not a bad thing. That's what you want. A good book will keep you up. You all know that. That's what you want, that not sleeping book, right? Because you might laugh aloud or you might even cry, hitting those feelings, but you will be inspired as the most unlikely of heroes reminds us that when destiny calls, being ready isn't important. Saying yes is. Now, I want to pause for a second on that because in my second video, I kind of explained about the core truth of those past emotional experiences, how you have to understand it. And I even gave a personal story, a personal anecdote about the fact that for me, I realized just recently that every piece of content that I love and consume, from books to movies, short stories, you name it, comic books, all of them have a similar core truth, or the same core truth running underneath it, from Warhammer books to Studio Ghibli, right? They all have the same thing, which is reluctant resignation, okay? Reluctantly resigned to your destiny. You may not want it, but when it comes, you're not going to fight it. You're just going to say yes and do what you do. I love those stories, not where you just fight against it. I don't want this destiny. I don't want it. I don't want to hear about the complaining. I want to hear about the guys who just say, you know what? It's on my plate. I might be able to do it. And because I might be able to do it, it's possible for me to win. So let me go ahead and do it. And then they just turned out being badasses about it anyway. I'm not getting the swear jar. Bump that. No, I cussed. I'm sorry. But I love those. And that runs through every story, every format, no matter what, that I consume. And so for me, I would be the audience for this type of book. If I were to read that, it would speak to me on such a level that they get me, and I would want to go on and continue down this buying process. That's what I'm saying to you when I'm saying you have to weave it around those past experiences, and you have to know what it is, okay? So saying yes is, and then I move on. Don't waste time on another simple story that leaves you empty, okay? Remember, you got to hit them in the pain points. There's nothing worse than taking a chance on a book and then it doesn't deliver, right? The story doesn't deliver, and it's not what you wanted. You gave it a shot, you weren't sure, and then it kind of sucks. And you just feel empty, right? So I poke you in the pain points on that. This is not that type of book, okay? And then again, I go back into the benefits, experience, the hilarity, the triumph, family bonds. The journey begins on page 1, okay? I kind of flipped the format a little bit because I said element number 3 is how do I get it, right? We'll go into the book and start reading, but I didn't put that as the 3rd stage. I moved it around. It's fluid, okay? You just need to hit these points, all right? But your journey begins on page 1. I'm pointing them to the book. Go look at it, right? The brain doesn't want to process what it doesn't want to. So the less you can make them think, should I? And the more you just tell them and give them a yes or no, the better your conversions are going to be. And then you just ended up with Destiny's Calling. Are you brave enough to answer? Again, I'm poking them in those past experiences because that's what I love about these type of stories. That's why I loved Guardians of the Galaxy, because I want that to happen, or at least if it happens to me that destiny comes calling, I want to know that I'll say yes, regardless of whether or not I'm ready for it, right? And that's what I want to know about myself. And so that's how you construct your book descriptions and your book blurbs, guys. Use this 5-step format, 5-element format, and really just make things pop. That's it. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me. And yeah, next video, we're going to kind of finish up. I think I wanted to do 5 videos, but I may just do 4 and push social media and websites together. So that's probably what's going to happen. Stay tuned. I'll see you soon. Peace.